put black faces on the screen in our households more than I would argue,
Yeah, than any other sport.
that not even any other sport.
Yeah.
More than fucking Bill Cosby, who's
Oh.
credited.
Yeah. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming
And
from
now
my
let's
mind.
talk about the Kyrie thing. So this Kyrie thing, right? One, this is the question that everyone is asking, right? This is a question on everybody's mind. Do you think that Kyrie is actually being genuine?
About not wanting to play for social justice issues?
Correct.
I do think, again, not knowing him, I do think that he is, but he's also very clearly an impulsive person, or at least he has impulsive tendencies.
Yeah.
Right? He seems to be indecisive. He seems to be pretty gullible with the flat earth stuff. Like, if you get him in a room with people who can articulate themselves well, he's going to leave convinced that that person was right about whatever they're talking about. So I'm assuming, like all of us, he's just surrounded by all the social stuff, social justice stuff, which rightfully so. But him being a black man, he's probably surrounded by people who have like the very extreme views of like, we need to burn this to the ground. And honestly, to a certain extent, I get it. But I think it's just because of that, though. I think he feels like he knows that that's what he really wants. But if he was around people, like if they were talking in different ways, if they were more towards like finding a way of coexisting versus like, we need to halt everything until things change. I think it'd be different. But also with the perk thing, I think if he might just want to also get off from this injury and still get paid.
Yeah, and here's my thing. Now let me ask you this other question before I go on my diatribe, because I could be wrong.
Okay.
Do you remember Kyrie ever being outspoken about any of these issues? And I want to be clear. I'm not asking this question because I want to check Kyrie or because I'm trying to I'm not trying to do a ledger on him. I just personally don't remember him ever. I don't ever remember him being outspoken or speaking out about anything.
No, I don't remember him ever being like disappointed about that kind of stuff. I think he, like a lot of other players, would allude to things from time to time, especially when an event would happen, but then it would just pass. But also, this was a different environment where those guys are scared of losing their sponsorships, man.
Yeah.
Or like scared of people stop buying their sneakers and stuff.
Yeah. Listen, this is a very different time, and that's why I wanted to be clear about that, because I don't want to put it past that Kyrie, like mad people right now, like a lot of white people too, you know what I mean, are kind of waking up to this. A lot of reasons because of COVID has a lot to do with it. People just being home, feeling vulnerable, seeing things that are affecting them a different way that never affected them before. So someone like Kyrie could be being affected in a way that he's never been affected before and now wants to take a stand. So I want to be clear that is possible. But again, just like you, I don't know Kyrie. What I know about Kyrie is what you said, right? Impulsive. And this is going to come back to the question I asked you on Twitter. And I didn't want to respond on Twitter. I wanted to save the conversation for here, right?
Okay.
Because you said, you had mentioned on Twitter, and rightfully so, that we shouldn't be mixing the flat earth stuff with the social justice stuff, right?
Right.
And while I agree, right? Someone who is balanced, like whatever, teetering on a balance, I am able to separate that. Yeah, this is bullshit, but this is true. But my thing is, should we be relying on someone like Kyrie to be speaking out? This is the worst case scenario almost, right? Where it's like you're trying to convince it. Listen, there are still people who think the Holocaust didn't happen, right? Well, if you have a person, let's say you have someone, and now this is going to be a little bit of a false equivalency, but you have someone who says, well, the Holocaust doesn't happen, right? Well, you know what? Fuck it. Let's not do that. Someone who says that systematic racism isn't real, which is the Holocaust of America, who says it's not real. And then you have Kyrie who believes that the earth is flat. And this person also doesn't believe the earth is flat. But meanwhile, Kyrie is saying this. Well, this doesn't really help us at all. You know what I mean? It just seems like to me, from my standpoint, I'm confused by him. You know what I mean? I'm like confused that you took this time to take the stands. It's not lost on me that you've only said this after KD said he wasn't coming back. You know what I mean? And it doesn't seem genuine to me. You know what I mean? And again, I don't know Kyrie. So I don't want people to think that I'm just trying to shit or disparage on Kyrie. Listen, if LeBron comes out and says this shit, I'm taking that like it's God's word. You know what I mean? Because no matter how I feel about LeBron being the second greatest player of all time, that man is arguably today's Bill Russell in the NBA. So if he says that shit, I'm rolling with him. But if he says he wants to play, I find it surprising that more players are not like, yo, we ride with this dude. You know what I mean? And Kyrie being the one who's like, nah, but we shouldn't. We should start our own league or whatever the hell he's talking about.
Right.
Doesn't seem genuine to me. You know what I mean?
I think that's fair. And a lot of that is because of his past behavior about being very impressionable.
Yeah.
But like the idea of like needing someone to be like the face of something, I don't necessarily always agree with it. In our history, in human history, there have always been individuals that we sort of identify with something.
Yeah.
But to a point it doesn't make a lot of sense because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Right? Gandhi let his wife die. MLK had tons of mistresses. Right? There's no perfect person. It's like we have to focus on the ideal rather than the person. Right? So even if he is crazy, even if he is impressionable, maybe if he doesn't really mean it, what he's saying is still true. And he's still and also what he's saying is still more positive than negative. Like them not playing, although it would hurt some people's pockets, and I do feel bad for those people. It would suck if I was one of them. But sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, when things actually get a little bit better, is because the oppressed make the oppressors suffer.
Correct.
And him not playing, or the NBA not playing, would do that. People will lose a lot of money and now be more willing to make a change because they don't want to have to deal with this every year. Right? And I'm not even saying that boycotting the rest of the season is the way to go, but if they did it, I'm cool with it. The other thing too, though, with like, you know, he says this, so it makes it easier for people to bring down that like we can't fall into that trap, although I understand the logic. It's because the people who are going to discredit him are the people who don't want him, they don't want that message out in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
And whether it's conscious or subconscious, they don't like what they're hearing. So instead of just talking about the validity of the statement, they change the conversation and be like, well, but this is the same guy who said this, this, and this.
Same thing about the looting. Same about the conversation about the looting.
Black on black crime, the whole thing, right? It's like, but that's not what we're actually talking about.
That's true.
So I don't want, like I told you before, right? I'm over letting people off the hook. Right? The last time we were with a group of friends, I'm sure they didn't love me. Well, you weren't there, but last time I was there with our friends, they didn't love me the whole time. But that's also because I was not willing to let them just say stuff.
Yeah.
Right? If you're gonna say, you need to be able to back that shit up, but also understand that like we're not having the conversation anymore about if this is real or who's saying this and why does it. No, man, it's way bigger than any of us individually.
Right.
And until we recognize that this is a problem that affects all of us and won't change until we all decide to make a difference in any way that we can, it's going to be the same.
Yeah.
You look at footage from the 60s, look at footage from the 30s, there's not even footage from the 1800s, but like, it's just like watching something on repeat. It's like the footage gets a little bit better quality.
Yeah, Emmett Till has pretty much been happening every day in this country since Emmett Till happened.
And way before.
Yeah. No, you're right. I guess, maybe I'm a sucker because I'm thinking in my mind, we don't want to give people the excuse to have the other side of the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't want to even give somebody the opportunity for a whataboutism. But the truth is, there always going to be a whataboutism. There's just going to be one. So that's a fair point. I'm not mad at that.
I'm not giving. We can't give those people an out.
Correct.
I mean, but that's their out. And then we're going to be like, okay, fine, don't listen to him, listen to this person. But we can't do that. Because like I said, right, just because some things are wrong, there are universal truths, right? Me and you can have a discussion about the best color is, right? But like murder is wrong.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Like no matter, you could pick the color everyone hates and say murder is wrong. You're still right that murder is wrong. And I know that like flat earth and all this dinosaurs aren't real, all that stuff is way more wrong and problematic and just like frustrating.
Yeah.
But it is only that. It is frustrating.
Correct.
Where like nobody dies
because
he thinks the earth is flat.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, but people are dying right now. And it's more than just dying, right? That's the whole point you're making about the money. Now, there was a great point. I forgot who made it. I want to say it was Avery Bradley.
Yeah, he came out a couple of days ago.
Yeah, who said he made the point about lining our pockets to put that back into the black community. Wouldn't that be the right decision?
So that was what I was going to say towards whenever we got to that point in the conversation that, and for me, like I said earlier, they want to boycott. I get it. They want to come back and play. I also get it. Like there's no judgment there. But I think, at least from in my perspective, the best like middle ground is that they hold out until the NBA is willing to like really put money where their mouth is. Like not just, we're going to donate $2 million over the course of the next 10 months. No, we're going to build an organization and it's going to be funded through certain types of revenue sharing or whatever it is, like that is going to last.
Yeah.
It's going to last forever. And then these retired players can help run it. Or when they finish playing, they can help run it and go back to their homes, to their communities with the backing of the NBA. Like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. It could be trainings. It could be adult education programs.
Yeah.
It could be so many things. And in reality, none of those things individually cost that much money, right?
Correct.
It's really more like time. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of NBA players, once they're done playing, they need something to live for.
Yeah, that's true.
And how many of us wouldn't want to make our neighborhoods better?
For sure.
And it's not like these billionaires can't like do without a couple $1 million.
Yeah. No, you're right. And you know what? Credit to MJ who stepped up in a way after we spent, 10 episodes shitting on him essentially on our 3 to Tango podcast. Not shitting on him, but talking about how, he always kind of dropped the ball. Yeah, he just dropped the ball in these situations. He stepped up. He didn't put $100 million out. I don't know how it breaks down to his own pocket. It's $100 million over 10 years, essentially, into programs that are going to help inner city youth, I guess. I didn't see the details, but things like that, I think if every NBA owner steps up to that, I think that's really what you need to be expecting NBA owners to do, because these players, one, as we've known long, for those who don't know, the Forbes valuation of NBA franchises is, I don't know, usually 40% lower than it actually is. I think that they value like the Knicks at 1 point some billion, but in reality, if the Knicks, if Jim Dolan sold the Knicks, he'd probably make $2 billion easier, or definitely
more.
A lot more than what Forbes thinks the Knicks are going to sell. The Knicks, they valued, what was it, the Hornets, when the NBA had taken over the Hornets. I think they had the Hornets valued at $300 million, and they ended up selling for $750 million. So that's to the point that that what an NBA franchise is worth because of the players that are playing this fucking game. And guess what? Some of the best players just happen to be black, the ones that are suffering in these fucking streets here.
Not even the best players, like almost all of the players.
The history of the NBA, you know what I mean, is essentially black with splashes of Larry Bird, and you know what I mean? And right now, Luka and Joker, as the game becomes more international. But the point being that this is an international problem. That's why we're seeing international protests.
Yeah.
Probably for the first time I can fucking ever remember some shit like that happening.
The last time I remember happening was the Occupy Wall Street movement.
Okay.
It did go into other countries, but it's beautiful to see
For sure.
all these other countries protesting.
Yeah, because it turned a problem that I think rightfully so in this country, a lot of black people in this country felt like it was the world against them. Again, rightfully so, when the world that they've known has been against them, to see that the world outside of that is not. So, no, you're right. I think, and I said this on Twitter, we are not going to know what the right decision here is until that happens. You know what I mean? Like I said, like we talk all the time about unintended consequences. That should be the fucking name of, you know what? I needed a name for my album, and that's going to be the name of the album. Unintended
that's
consequences.
A good one.
I needed that name, and I just came up with it. Because that has literally been the theme, I think, of the last few years. When Trump got elected, you knew these problems right here can be listed. You didn't know that racists were going to start coming out of the woodwork and planting their flag, right? The ignorance around that stuff, you just don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And I think the same thing stands here for the NBA, that who knows what the right decision is. I know that I have trouble agreeing with Kyrie. Maybe that's a me problem. I don't trust, like a lot of people generally, and when I look at Kyrie's history, I don't trust it. And when I see that they have nothing to play for, I don't trust it. So it makes it kind of harder for me to hear his message without thinking about all of the surrounding stuff. I think that the what I will say, this will be my final point here, unless there was something else you wanted to bring up here, but my final point on this matter is going to be that the NBA is always been the steward, at least in the sports world, for social justice and for this exact thing. Correct. So the NBA stepping up and playing, when I say the NBA, I mean the players. I don't mean Adam Silver, and I don't fucking mean the owners. I mean the players. Stepping up and playing whatever concessions they need to, because they essentially have the NBA by the balls. The players are going to lose a lot of money. The Players Association are going to lose a lot of money too. But you're still going to be millionaires. You're still going to be fine. And if you're willing to take that L to force the NBA into that position, this is the time to do it. And I think that's the right. I think that at the end of this, we see patches on the uniforms, maybe a black patch. I think for the rest of time in the NBA, that signifies Black Lives Matter, shit like that. Like the George Floyd rule or something like that in NBA that they end up instituting. Things like that I think you can fight for and actually make that change. I think that is the benefit of the NBA coming back. They have been the ones. They are the ones who've put black faces on the screen in our households more than I would argue,
any other sport.
Not even any other sport. More than fucking Bill Cosby, who was credited, right, as like
more than any entertainment.
Other entertainer. The NBA has brought an acceptable quote unquote black face into a person's living room and allowed them to root for them. Bill Russell is the ultimate winner in the most racist fucking city, where he has a statue. You can't undersell the importance of blackness in the NBA, especially when it comes to racism. So that's it. I just shitted on Bill Cosby, so I got my shit on Bill Cosby quota for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do think, though, when you talked about Kyrie, I understand. I do understand that. And those are all fair things to feel.
Yeah.
But it's just, with anything in particular, though, when it comes to things like this, you have to recognize the bias, right?
Yeah.
Like you just said, it's hard for me to understand anything he's saying or agree with anything he's saying. So innately, you come to the conversation feeling like there's no common ground. So you got to acknowledge that and like project objectivity.
Yeah.
Imagine this is anybody. And the thing is, like, that is super hard to do. And like, I'm not good at it either. Like, it's stuff that I continuously work on and try to be mindful of. Although sometimes the conversation turns to a false equivalency where like people would say stuff like, Fox News and this are the same thing with different coins, different sides of the same coin. I'm like, no, no.
Yeah.
You can be right wing leaning, and you can also just be racist liars, which is what Fox News is. So there's nothing else like Fox News. So I'm not going to meet you halfway there. Like, I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't care if you don't like it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, even in this city, right, which is overwhelming minority, right? Even like in the neighborhoods we grew up with, it was like Asian, Black, and Latin. There was not a lot of white people around, ever. But then you have in South Philly, all the racists come out of nowhere, which does, again, I posted this on Facebook to be a troll to certain people.
Yeah.
It's like, one surprise in South Philly.
Yeah.
Where they come out trying to protect a statue
of Christopher Columbus. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a statue is worth more to you than actual people.
What I will say is the racists didn't come out of nowhere. We knew they were here the whole time because, I mean, if you went to Doherty, we knew racists in Doherty who are racist as shit right now.
Yep.
And that was up the road. Fox Chase, Longcrest. I had a conversation with my boss because she was telling me one of our employees lives in not Frankfurt.
Mayfair.
Like right below, in between Mayfair and Frankfurt. Yeah, like Bridesburg, exactly. And I was like,
that's the super racist part of this.
I was like, they're hitting every racist part of this fucking city, man. Like, that's what's happening. You know what I mean? They're hitting every part, but they're gonna fuck up the especially racist ones. So racism. Listen, PA is racist as shit. You know what I mean? Yes. We know that already.
Thanks.
So all of this is not that surprising. When I saw that, I was sickened. Like, I wasn't sickened, but I was sickened as I am sickened to see racism. I was not sickened because it was literally the least surprising thing I've ever fucking seen in South Philly. And I expected to see people that we knew out there. I was looking, trust me, because I was going to watch somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I would have taken the drive and just beat the shit out of one person at a time. But listen, this is nothing surprising. Christopher Columbus is not your culture. Your culture in America is not your culture.
No.
Christopher Columbus certainly isn't.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways you go. I want to put a side point as to be a troll. I bet you see a bunch of those people with mummers uniforms on, though.
Oh, for sure.
In January.
Yeah.
But I was watching Parks and Recreation, the TV show.
Yeah.
And it's a comedy, right? It's supposed to make you laugh. At one point, Ron Swanson says in one episode, he mentions ethnic food, right? And that shit stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all fucking American food is ethnic food.
Yeah.
Because Columbus and them killed, literally slaughtered the natives. Correct. So there is no more American food because you're dead.
Correct.
So if you're white and you Irish, it's fucking ethnic food because it somehow made it here from Ireland.
Correct. Yeah, I made a joke. I don't even know if I should say this. I'm not going to say the joke, but the point being that nothing here. The culture of America is, well, one, as I've said this, I say this to anybody who listen. Any one of these TikTok dances you see, the slang, the social media slang, the way people talk on social media, that is all black culture. All of it. Yeah. Every TikTok dance is black culture. Mm-hmm. If you listen to hip hop, that's black culture. You can say whatever you want. This is all black culture. You know what I mean? But pop music it has a lot of roots in black culture. You know what I mean? So rock and roll started as black culture. So you can say whatever you want. You want to keep your Christopher Columbus statue? Fine. I'm going to take every CD you have that's not Garth Brooks or somebody fucking else. And you're going to listen to trash music with your shitty rhythm and your fucking bland mashed potatoes and whatever the fuck you do, and your Coors Light that is your domestic and your foreign beer, whatever the fuck you do, man, live your life. So yeah, I'm sorry. That's my rant in terms of racism. We could talk all day. I was thinking about starting a podcast based on a conversation I had with Angie, actually, that was like really, really like filled me with like love. I think I told you, but I don't know if I did. Yeah. Filled me with like a lot of.
Let's talk about that off camera.
Yeah, but it was thinking about starting a podcast talking about history. You know, maybe taking a deep dive into some like the racist shit that happened in this country and like really breaking it down for people to understand.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't know. I thinking about a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I think that's it. Is there anything else you wanted to cover, or I think we're good there, right?
No, I mean, that's really, yeah, it's just, I would just urge everybody to be willing to listen. And that if you get offended by something, you start recognizing that it has more to do with you than the scenario, and practice as much civil discourse as you can.
Yeah, and if you don't want to hear it from Victor, because Victor can be bristly, Victor is like is the equivalent of grabbing a cactus with a bare hand. You're gonna talk to me. I'm like the equivalent of grabbing like a something that is not a cactus, like with your bare hand, and I can give you what he wants to give you a lot rougher with a lot more patience and care. But it'll still be the same fucking message, all right? And it's that stop being a racist piece of shit. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, that's it. We'll stop there. Everybody take care of yourselves. Be careful out there. Please wear a fucking mask still at the very least, because I've given up 3 months of my life in quarantine, and I may have given them up anyway, but that is not, it's different when I had the choice. You know what I mean? Everybody stay safe, take care, and yeah, that's all we got.
Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come in